Morning, delegates, friends, and the respected chairperson, and a big thank you to Dr. Sajid and Pooja for including me in this instruction course. My topic is the role of anterior segmentosity in the management of glaucoma. I have no financial interest to show. A role of anterior segmentosity in the management of glaucoma. What are the means available to examine the case of glaucoma? Already you know that slit lamp examination, optical pachymetry, gonioscopy, ultrasound biometer, and the anterior segmentosity is already in vogue. The anterior segment imaging using OCT by AZET, as Dr. Parikshit has already told it, but it was the Maldonado et al. Which imaging the LASIK flap in 1998, and this popularized the imaging system utilizing the anterior segmentosity. With the advent of wavelength 1310 nanometer, you have deeper penetration into and better acquisition of data. Anterior segmentosity is basically a low coherence interferometer. It produces image like ultrasound biometer, but instead of ultrasound, it utilizes infrared lights to imaging the structure. The technique measures the time, delay, and intensity of light reflected from the tissue and compare it with the light reflected by the reference mirror. This results in interference phenomena. The intensity of signal depends on the optical property of the tissue, and devices uses this signal to produce the cross-sectional image of the structure being analyzed. This way, the anterior segmentosity acquires the data. It gives higher axial resolution than ultrasound biomicroscope, faster sampling, and most advantageous is non-contact and non-invasive. And very easy to use in OPD in day-to-day basis and screening for the glaucoma cases whenever you suspect a case of glaucoma comes to your clinic. And there are two commercially available anterior segmentosity are there. This is Visante developed by Carl Zeiss and slit lamp OCT, that is Heidelberg Engineering. So far as the this is comparison between these two, Visante having a slightly better axial resolution and transverse resolution. Image acquisition is fast, and then the automatic scanning definitely gives slight edge over the slit lamp OCT. And we have high inter-observer reproducibility and between these two. What are the things we look for the anterior segment in a case of glaucoma? We can imagine corneal thickness, that is pachymetry, anterior chamber depth, angle, iris abnormality, condition of PI or patency of trabeculotomy immediately post-surgical or in later on going to your tab is going to failing, and assessment of the filtering bleb in a post-surgical cases. Corneal thickness central corneal thickness is very important parameter. It increases thickness gives high false IOP, as you know, and low thickness gives a low false low. So this is very dangerous, and it is imperative to know the actual corneal thickness and to correlate the data to for IOP measurement. It also gives the central or original pachymetry. This is the image acquired by image of the corneal thickness, and you can have a pachymetry map. So you have all the points having a corneal pachymetry for for better management of the disease. And it has been seen that the anterior segmentosity gives slightly thinner measurement, but this can be overcome by if you average the central to and this match the measurement of ultrasound UBM. The average thickness of Visante is 535.7 micron plus minus 30.2, and with UBM that is 550. This is aesthetically significant. But nevertheless, both the imaging devices has 95% limit of examination with ultrasound pachymeter. Most important use of anterior segmentosity imaging of the anterior chamber angle quantitatively and qualitatively, as Dr. Parikshit has already told it, and because you have a very good anterior angle anatomy picture without distortion. So this is the very important. So, and you can objectively see the parameters and the angle anatomy. And imagine the accuracy of 15 mm into 7 mm deep scan, and later resolution 16 micron and 18 micron axial resolution. Very good inter-observer correlation has been seen. It has been seen that you have to identify the scalar spur subjectively. So this is very important parameter, and this has been shown that good that if you are going to have any difficulty in identifying the scalar spur, result will vary. So it is very important to have scalar spur anatomy delineation, because all the description has been based in relation to this structure. But it is shown that 95% of cases observers have been able to locate the scalar spur. So this is very good correlation. And anterior chamber angle, there is junction between, junction between the iris root and the cornea. If you have a scalar spur here, if you are seeing the iris root posterior to the scalar spur, the angle is open. If you are seeing the scalar root anterior to the scalar spur, most probably the angle are close. And due to the lower scattering loss of light by 1310 highly delineated, detailed image of anterior segment, you see angle is possible. It gives the objective angle assessment. Digital angle measurement is highly accurate and reproducible, but it cannot imagine the structure posterior to the iris epithelium, because infrared red light is unable to penetrate beyond that. So you have poor imaging of a structure behind the iris epithelium. Various parameters available to look out the anterior chamber anatomy, that is angle ACA, angle opening distance, and trabecular iris space area, to utilize for calculating the angle. This is the anterior chamber angle area. This is perpendicular line from the corneal endothelial surface to the iris, 500 micron from this scalar spur. You can include 700 micron to include the more wider area, so that way you can have a better idea. This is again, if you this structure is closed, if you have a synechia, so better to include the wider area, that's called trabecular iris space area. This area gives the better delineation of the angular anatomy, and you can have this area is the trapezoidal area, that is bordered by anterior opening distance, then posterior inner scalar wall, then endothelial and iris surface. These are the trapezoidal area. According to the section of International Glaucoma Societies, primary ankylosing glaucoma is the leading cause of blindness in Asia and may be more common in European population than previously recognized because of this beautiful tool. Treating anatomically narrow angle may prevent the development of angle closure. Therefore, early detection of anatomically narrow angle is very, very important. You can diagnose the relative pupillary block, which can lead to subsequent chronic ankylosing glaucoma. There is pressure differential between anterior and posterior chamber that causes the bowing of the iris towards the corneal endothelium and narrowing of the anterior chamber. Recurrent attack may lead to this closure of this angle here. If you do the peripheral iridectomy, this restores the balance between the anterior chamber and posterior chamber, and that way you can prevent the attack of the glaucoma later on in his life, and can prevent glaucoma. This is the peripheral iridectomy picture of the patient, that is enhanced anterior segment image with iridectomy, and this is a raw high resolution image. You can see the patency of the peripheral iridectomy. Here is a simultaneous by SLOCT. You can have a simultaneous slit length and OCT examination. Here you can see the swelling and opacity of the cornea, and you can able to detect the shallow anterior chamber and narrow anterior chamber angle also as well with this slit length OCT. This is the case of malignant glaucoma with flat anterior chamber, but if we are not able to see the structure beyond the iris with this anterior segment OCT, then in those cases ultrasound biomicroscope is very good. You can have a better idea with patient having the keratoplasty. You can subtract something else, so we can have a better idea of angular anatomy and the patency of the Hamad glaucoma valve, which has been put here. If you have seen the cornea like this and you have getting the high IOP, you can well imagine the anterior chamber angle with this anterior segment OCT. Anterior segment OCT is as different parameters are calculated to assess the angle. it is important to keep the mind the room illumination. If people size is wider, then you have an angle, closed angle, and if people size is smaller, then have open angle, the same patient. So you have to take into consideration of all these things like room illumination, accommodation, and patient taking any medication that may affect the shapes and location of the anterior chamber structure. Now you can have very interesting condition like reflective iris syndrome, and here segment OCT can see the angle closer, but it is not going to be on the iris structure. In those cases, UVM is very important. You can see the anti-rotation of the cerebral body and higher insertion of iris into the iris root in the reflective iris syndrome. Coming to the pigment dispersion syndrome, anti-segmentosis, so that reverse will block in those cases. What happens when patient, this is an open eye, when patient blinks, there is a bending of the concavity towards the iris, towards the lens, and this again increases the pigment dispersion by rubbing on the lens or lens. So you can, and simple iridectomy may prevent this condition, pigment dispersion. As had been previously shown that the large iris volume to anterior chamber is going to the cause of the pigment dispersion. But here you can have a very good picture. Live you can dynamically imagine the picture in those cases. This is the case of trauma with angle extension, and you can see there is a disinsertion of lateral motion of iris from the cerebral spur and some choroidal hemorrhage over there. So it is a very good tool for the diagnosis in acute stages where you cannot touch the eye. You can just look at a picture and you can explain to the patient. This is a very important tool also in post-abriclectomy. You can see the functioning filtering blade, the low reflectivity, uniform low reflectivity. This is the subjective, this is not subjective, this is objective. So what you look for while doing the surgery, you have subjectively analyze the condition, but here you can objectively analyze the condition, whether the blade is functioning or not. This is the case of non-filtering blade, where you can see the high reflectivity inside and there is no cystic spaces. In cases of Hamad-Diatomov valve, we can have a very good picture of this tube which is beautifully placed into the angle. Now coming newer advancement is polarization sensitive OCT. That's a newer tool that utilizes the polarization lights, and this is very less scattering of light, so you have very better imaging of the anterior chamber or any structure. Light is split by polarization to two rays after passing through a bifringent material. The ray takes different paths, and that way that produces the image. You can see there is a functioning filtering blade, beautiful picture here, and there is a bifringes, homogeneous bifringes here, low bifringes, and there you have a higher increase in inhomogeneous bifringes in the case of poorly functioning blade. So you can, that way you can have a very good idea and good picture. Even angular anatomy may be more delineated with this polarizing sensitive OCT. Even if you have studied longitudinal assessment of filtering, but this is the immediate post the tabaclectomy, you have good, and then this is after 2 years you can have this picture, and there is a high reflectivity, and this is again fibrosis of this blade. After, so this can be predicted 4 years back before the failing of the, that way you can have good time to manage the failing filtering blade. Thanks for your patience, hearing.